Hello, I'm Herm Gailey, taking a break from riding to do a little bit of talking about a subject that I think is going to draw some comment, but I wanted to go there anyway, and that is, when do you need a divorce from your horse? When do you have to accept the fact that the horse that maybe you've invested a lot of time, effort, money, and love in really is not the right horse for you? And that time comes. And what I want to see is fewer retirement horses out there. Now, that's going to sound odd, but there are two types of retirement horse. The one kind I love, somebody who comes and says, I'm going to retire and I got a really nice, useful horse for what I want to do that I'm going to enjoy in my retirement. Love that kind of retirement horse. But there's another kind of retirement horse, and that's the kind of horse that retires people from riding. They can retire people from riding when they're 10 years old because they hurt the person, scare the person, or take away the love of the horse from that person because of the way they are. And folks, we may not like to admit it. We'd like to say the horse is never wrong, but there are some wrong horses out there just the way there's some wrong people. There's some horses that I think have mental issues. There are horses that have been misused and through no fault of their own, they become unmanageable. There are horses that have no basics, who are not suitable for a beginner. A whole array of different things can come up that keep that from being the right horse for you. So you consider whether you're going to get a retirement horse that you can enjoy or just an enjoyable horse, or a retirement horse that's going to retire you from riding, and you just don't want to persist with the second type. You can get hurt, you can lose the ability to enjoy what you're doing. In the United States, my understanding is that more than 50% of marriages end in divorce. That's unfortunate, but it's a reality, and I think people are starting to realize there's a time when you pull the plug. And they do, in droves, 50% or more. With horses, there's an awful lot of people who feel like they've taken some sort of holy vow and that they're going to see that horse through the rest of its life. And I've had many horses that lived and died right here on my farm or where I grew up that absolutely earned that. And they did live and die here. But the ones that don't earn it, if they're bad horses, I try to rehome them the best way I can. If they're just not very good horses, I find somebody who maybe it's not what I want, but for them, it's an upgrade, and get them a new place to live. You can do the same thing when you've got a horse that's not working out for you. Now, what are the big things that really make a horse unacceptable? Well, the first thing always is safety. If you've got a horse that's really not safe to be around, if you've picked a horse that is more horse than you're capable of dealing with, or picked a horse that has issues, or picked a horse that has issues you didn't know about, regardless, if you're in over your head, there's two ways that can go. Sometimes you learn to swim, but sometimes you drown. And you don't want to be in that second category because you can really be hurt. You're not going to enjoy the time you spend with your horse. It's going to become a chore and a source of stress. You have the right to enjoy your horse. And if the horse is one that can't be enjoyed by you, maybe somebody else can get along with him and enjoy him more. So consider whether the horse is unsafe. You know, if you've ridden a handful of times and you thought it was a good idea to go adopt a Mustang, I've seen some of these Mustangs get just wonderful, but probably they're not beginner horses. Or you think you're going to do a good thing and you adopt an off-the-track thoroughbred. Seen some wonderful off-track thoroughbreds, but probably letting that horse down off their race training and their race experience isn't something that a beginner rider should do. Suppose you're not a beginner. Well, first of all, there's a lot of people that aren't beginners, but they're not real good. That's okay. You can be not real proficient and still enjoy a horse, but you need to pick a horse that will fill in for you. Two quick examples of people that I know, one of whom is a gal who had an injury with a horse before. She adopted a big, attractive mare off the track, and the horse was not only carrying some baggage from her past life, but I'm sure she was a difficult horse from the get-go. And she was literally aggressive. If you crossed her, she would act out by threatening you and seemed to mean it. And I'm a big one for seeing what can be salvaged. And I worked with the horse on one occasion, and I made some headway. The horse wasn't trying to come after me anymore. The horse stepped away. The horse got its ears up. All of that was a good sign, but I also knew that my friend was not going to be able to persist in that and was really at risk. So I took the bull by the horns in that case, and I said, you know, you really need to get a different horse. Find somebody who's equipped to deal with this horse. Find her a new home responsibly, but get yourself a nice horse. And this gal went and she bought a horse from a kids camp. The horse is not fancy, he's not advanced, he's not real educated, but he's good transportation, and he totes her everywhere she wants to go because he's got about 1 million miles on him. And she's put about 1 million more on him, and I think she's enjoyed just about every mile. And to me, that was the right decision for her to make. It was the right advice for me to give, though I felt a little presumptuous doing it. You know, her horse, her decision. But people sometimes need permission to let go. So that was a divorce. There's another pair that I can think of where a gal bought a young horse that had proven difficult for a professional trainer and had been sent home. She bought this horse to see if she could salvage him. She has done a remarkable job, but watching her with this horse, this has been going on for years now. The horse is steadily getting a little bit better, but it's like handling a grenade with the pin pulled. The wrong trigger, you drop the grenade, it goes off. You make a wrong move, the grenade goes off. It hasn't gone off full force yet, but I fear that someday I'm going to get a call from another friend saying, guess what happened? And it's not going to be good. So stay away from horses that aren't safe. Or I'll take an example in my own life. I've got a horse that I've used in a number of videos. She's a nice horse. She's become a very kind of a brilliant, not completely consistent show horse. We call her Sweetie. She can turn around, she can change leads. She's shown in ranch riding, she's shown in reining, she's shown in ranch pleasure. Attractive, athletic, she's fun to ride, like driving a sports car, but she's just a lousy trail horse. And then I've got Slim, who has been widely deplored as a show horse, but when I saddle him, I know I'm going to come home safe. And so I'm fortunate enough to be able to just keep that mare, ride her around the farm here a bit, but primarily use her as a show horse because she fits in there, and have another horse to go to. But if I wanted a trail horse, and that was the one I had, I would reject her. I would find somebody who wanted to give her a different life, and I'd go try to find myself a Slim, or a young Slim that I could start, whichever. You gotta have the right horse. The other thing then is just suitability. Is the horse not just safe, but is he suitable for what you want to do? So if you've got a bad back and you found this really nice draft cross horse and you're riding him, but he, as some of those horses can be, is kind of rough gaited and your back can't take it, it's suitability. It's not the horse's fault, it's not your fault. You find somebody else who can take that little rougher gait, and you go find yourself a horse that maybe takes care of you a little bit better in terms of comfort. Did you buy a nice young horse? And maybe you shouldn't have. Well, maybe you find somebody who can take that horse on, and you buy the horse they're graduating from. Buy somebody's 4-H horse if you need a horse that will fill in for you a bit. Don't always think you've got to do it yourself. Get a good one. And don't always think that you've got to reinvent the wheel and make your own horse if you're really not qualified. Because those things can really go wrong, and they can go wrong for the horse, which isn't fair, and they can go wrong for you, which is not enjoyable. Bottom line, I said it before, I'm going to say it again. You have the right to enjoy your horse. If the horse you have is not enjoyable, find one that is. Find one that is. Don't retire, and don't let the horse retire you. Get a divorce if you must. Move on. You'll have a new relationship, and if you do it right, the second time around will be the charm. Thank you.